Today on Totally Wild, we are diving into the Great Barrier Reef right here in Australia. Full of weird and wonderful creatures, big and small, the Great Barrier Reef is home to some of Australia's most endemic and most endangered species, and today we're going to tell you about its biggest threats and why we need to protect it. Even though there are many species in the Great Barrier Reef, they all play a very vital role in keeping the reef system healthy.
Hey guys, we're about to set off right into the ocean right off the coast of Queensland. Here's where we're going.
The Great Barrier Reef has been a World Heritage Site since 1981. Highly regarded for its ecosystem management, the seventh natural wonder of the world is now under significant threat caused by multiple issues. One of these issues is overfishing and overharvesting. When we refer to overfishing, we mean the harvesting of excessive amounts of fish, causing major population declines and the potential to disrupt natural replacement rates. Overfishing of certain species can have a catastrophic impact on reef ecosystems. Overfishing disrupts natural food webs, decreases species populations, and the resilience of coral to natural disasters. It can affect water quality and cause habitat destruction. We as the public of Australia should care about this issue, as there is the potential for it to cause catastrophic and irreversible damage to this wonder of the world. The Great Barrier Reef is one of Australia's biggest tourist sites, and damaging it will have huge effects on our tourist economy. The Great Barrier Reef is a marine ecosystem of globally significant biodiversity and extraordinary beauty. These values are recognised in its listing as a World Heritage Area and National Marine Park. However, as for many marine ecosystems globally, the Great Barrier Reef is now under significant threat from a range of human issues, one of which is the occurrence of fishing that takes place in the marine park. Fishing has occurred in the Great Barrier Reef for decades, from well before the declaration of the Great Barrier Reef Marine Park Authority, with the zoning plans and regulations of the Great Barrier Reef World Heritage Area. It is now a multi-million-dollar industry, producing a regional income from commercial fishing, local recreational fishing, and tourism. Trawling, line, trap, and net fisheries, along with its dive-based harvest fisheries, are commercial activities that have the greatest potential to affect the biological communities on the Great Barrier Reef. Overfishing in coral reef ecosystems causes significant direct and indirect effects on the community structure and diversity of fish and other organisms that inhabit the area. Overfishing causes a disruption in food chains, as the more species we overharvest, the further we have to fish down the food web. It has also been proven to affect the reef so much that the ability of recovering from natural disturbances such as cyclones is a much longer and harder process. Interactions between predators and prey is important in ensuring the stability and biodiversity of the ecological community. If a keystone species becomes extinct, it will disrupt the balance in the food chain as it influences the food web from the top down. For example, if an apex predator like a shark was removed, the number of medium-sized fish increases greatly as they are no longer a food source. This can then cause a decline in small herbivorous fish, which control macroalgae growth. This in turn can cause algae blooms and reduce water quality. A decline in certain species being overfished can contribute to the lack of food for seabirds and marine animals that also inhabit the reef. This is known as trophic cascading. Some species that greatly influence this process are apex predators, mainly sharks, parrotfish, turtles, triton snails, and even coral themselves. Some methods of fishing can be very destructive to the reef ecosystems, as trawling nets can be dragged through the areas and habitats can be ripped up by the nets. One of the biggest threats to populations is bycatch. Many species are caught by accident, for example, sharks by fisheries, normally targeting other species. These sharks are often not reported, killed and discarded at sea. Recent reports stated that 75% of sharks caught globally is illegal and unreported at the species level. This means that when sharks are caught, the actual type of shark is not being recorded. Therefore, we are not aware which species are more threatened than others. As more than 50% of Australia's sharks and ray species are endemic to the Great Barrier Reef, this could have a huge impact and ultimately cause trophic cascading, and the reduction of sharks could potentially lead to strong and unforeseen changes in the abundance of many species, and even the extinction of some sharks. This type of activity is even occurring in extremely well-managed reef systems. CSIRO reported while researching the impacts of prawn trawling in the Great Barrier Reef Marine Park that 6 to 10 tonnes of bycatch is caught per every 1 tonne of prawns, and most of which is discarded. The Great Barrier Reef Marine Park have many rules surrounding catch and bycatch to try and maintain a sustainable yield so as not to decimate populations. This is mainly through the introduction of zones with specific regulations in the marine park area.
So, what is the government doing to help combat overfishing? Well, it has developed many schemes in order to manage the large area that is the Great Barrier Reef. This includes marine park area zonings, working with Indigenous elders, and creating economic schemes which entice commercial fishermen to report catches properly. Within the Great Barrier Reef, there are 4 different zones in the marine park area. 1. No entry zones. 1% total area of the Great Barrier Reef, which are surveyed aerially and have strictly enforced exclusion areas. 2. No take zones, which consist of 30% total area of the Great Barrier Reef that cannot be fished illegally, however fishing boats are permitted. Illegal fishing has been documented in these areas. 3. Limited fishing zones, 4% total area of Great Barrier Reef, allows fishing, although with tight restrictions on species and quantity of fishing equipment. And finally, number 4, open fishing zones, 60% total area of the Great Barrier Reef, where fishing is allowed and few restrictions implemented. As only 1% of the total area of the Great Barrier Reef is protected as a no-entry zone, it seems highly unlikely that this small area may help to contribute to the replenishing populations to other areas. As illegal fishing is occurring in the no-take zones, which covers 30% of the Great Barrier Reef, it seems that stricter regimes and surveillance is required. Traditional Indigenous owners in the Great Barrier Reef Marine Park area may apply moratorium or suspension of all hunting activities when habitats or populations are low or degraded to let it recover for future generations. This has been quite successful, but poaching may still occur, which keeps pressure on populations but doesn't affect them greatly. In 2005, the Securing Our Fishing Future program was introduced to monitor populations on the Great Barrier Reef. 18 of 98 fish species assessed were classified as overfished or subject to overfishing, but has since fallen since the start of the program in 2005. Of the 18 species, 13 were overfished and 8 were subject to overfishing. 3 species, the southern bluefin tuna, jackass morlong and the upper slope gulper sharks, were all found to be overfished and subject to overfishing. A significant degree of uncertainty underlies status of fish species, with 42% in 2008 not evaluated due to inadequate information. So, where do we go from here? Well, there are many government conservation plans and schemes coming into place which will hopefully help our reef get back on track so not only the past generation but the future generations will be able to see it. Some of these plans include the Great Barrier Reef Region Strategic Assessment and the Reef 2050 Long-Term Sustainability Plan, which is made to ensure the Great Barrier Reef continues to improve on its outstanding universal value every decade between now and 2050 to be a natural wonder for each successive generation to come. The abundance of some of these species is currently not sustainable. Reef sharks, for instance, are effectively on a fast track to ecological extinction, some species becoming so rare that they may not be able to fulfill their role within the food web and ecology of the reef ecosystem. Substantial and immediate reduction in the pressure of fishing in the Great Barrier Reef is needed to help many species bounce back from population decline, as they play a vital role in the marine ecosystem. If not, our threatened native species may not have a chance at recovery.